Kia ora koutou. Welcome to my space. I was just thinking how I begin to forget what day of lockdown we're on. And I find my mind counting 15, 16, 17. Day 19. And just wanting not to tell you how to suck eggs, really, because you're all probably doing the best you can. But I was reminded yesterday in reading something about the impact of continually watching some of the things that are happening in the world around the virus. So perhaps limiting that content to once a day or less, but maybe bring it into your consciousness to limit how much information you need to expose yourself about what's happening globally. Maybe limiting that to once a day. I noticed myself that through this time, at times there's a period of irritability, and often what sits under that is sadness for what's happening. And just wanting to remind people that those feelings are normal. They're letting you know that we're in uncertain times, that this is difficult. We're social beings and we're used to being social. That's how we thrive. So, end of message. More importantly, welcome to yoga. As you know, this is a trauma-informed, trauma-sensitive practice, and at any time you're welcome to opt out or move into a resting form. There's no requirement to do what I say. And so let's get started. So firstly, you might want to look around your space, your bubble. Notice where you are in the space. So maybe looking behind you, perhaps to your side, perhaps checking is the door closed or open. Checking out where you are in your bubble. And then if you like, bring your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground, the surface beneath you. So one option could be to move, maybe moving your torso or perhaps moving your feet. I offer the forms both from a chair and on the mat. So if you're on your chair, maybe moving your feet or perhaps moving your torso. Another option could be to take a look, maybe noticing where you make contact with the ground. So perhaps bringing your awareness to notice where you begin and end. And then in your own time, maybe taking a breath. Perhaps noticing that you're breathing, that your breath is with you. It ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. If you do notice the sensation of your breath in your body, you may like to take your hand to that part. It's a choice. And you might feel the sensation of your breath moving in your body, maybe moving against your hand. Another way of noticing your breath could be to count your breaths, counting each inhale till you get 3. Get 3 inhales, starting again. So breathing in, counting 1. Breathing in, counting 2. Breathing in, counting 3. In your own rhythm. So if you like, bringing your awareness to notice that your breath is with you, that you're breathing. Then in your own time, perhaps finding your way to cats and cows on your mat. Turn my meter off. If you're seated, you may like to explore cats and cows, perhaps lifting your front torso and looking up, or possibly curling your spine and looking down. So you get to move in your own rhythm. If you're on your mat, maybe bringing your awareness to notice where you place your hands and feet. If you like, dipping your spine, lifting your chin and looking up. And then in your own time, curling your spine, tucking your chin and looking down. So maybe looking up, possibly looking down. If you like, synchronizing your breath with your movement. So possibly breathing in as you move in one direction. If you like, breathing out as you move in another direction. Knowing there's no right or wrong way to breathe here. Your body, your unique body, knows how to breathe. So maybe dipping your spine and looking up. Perhaps curling your spine and looking down. Then in your own time, you may like to move to a resting form, which may be bringing your elbows to your knees and resting your forehead on your hands, or perhaps sitting back on your ankles, if you like, resting your forehead on your hands. Perhaps moving into child form. Another option could be to extend your arms. So that's a choice. So you might be guided by how that feels for you. So sometimes we can choose how we want to move by what it feels like. Then when you're ready, maybe bringing yourself back to all fours. Possibly experimenting with lifting and lowering your leg, or maybe lifting and lowering your arm, or perhaps lifting and lowering your leg and arm. Knowing how much you lift is up to you. So if you're seated, maybe lifting and lowering your arm, perhaps lifting and lowering your leg, or maybe lifting and lowering both. You might feel sensation in your legs, and you might feel nothing at all, because we often don't feel sensation. It's quite normal not to feel sensation. And if you like, being guided by your body, finding your way to resting in your own time. Perhaps sitting back on your ankles, maybe resting your forehead on your hands, or if you like, extending your arms and breathing. If you're seated, perhaps bringing your elbows to your knees, maybe resting your forehead in your hands. You like noticing your breath is with you. Then in your own time, maybe moving to explore a toe stress. So if you like tucking your toes, perhaps moving to all fours and possibly tucking your toes. In your own time, maybe moving your hands towards your knees or possibly sitting back on your ankles and breathing. Anytime you could bring hands to the ground, maybe moving your hands towards your knees, perhaps moving away, exploring your toe stress and breathing. If you're seated, what you may like to do is to lift your heels, perhaps bring your hands to your knees, and if you like, pressing your toes into the ground. So in your own time, you may like to explore stressing your toes and breathing. At any time, moving in and out of the form. Then if you're interested, perhaps finding your way back to resting. So if you're moving into child, you may like to perhaps bring one great toe on top of your other great toe, possibly sitting back on your ankles, maybe resting your forehead on your hands and breathing. Maybe noticing your breath is with you. In your own time, perhaps moving back to all fours, finding your way to kneeling, and if you like, stepping one foot forward, maybe stepping into what we sometimes call a lunge. Maybe bring your hands to the floor, or perhaps resting on a block or some books. So maybe stepping your foot forward. If you're seated on a chair, what you may like to do is maybe move to one side of your chair, and if you like, dropping your knee, perhaps bring your hands to the side of your torso or possibly out in front, and breathe in. Knowing you're always welcome to move in the form. So maybe bending and straightening your knee, that's a choice. In your own time, you might like to switch and explore this on your other side, possibly returning to kneeling, if you like, stepping your foot forward, or if you're on a chair, maybe turning in the opposite direction. If you like, moving, exploring your variation of lunge, possibly feeling sensation in your legs, knowing it's quite normal to feel nothing at all. Guiding yourself back to your neutral in your own time, possibly resting your forehead on your hands. On your mat, maybe extending your arms and breathing. Then when you're ready, perhaps returning to all fours. And often this next form from seated first. So if you're seated, what you may like to do is bring your hands to your knees, or possibly extend your hands closer to your feet. And then in your own time, lifting your arms, maybe lowering your hands to your knees, or perhaps to your feet, and lifting your arms. Perhaps feeling sensation through your arms, maybe your torso, maybe not at all. If you're on your mat, you may like to explore this form, which is sometimes called a Tibetan. And from all fours, you may like to bring your hands towards the front of your mat, perhaps bringing your weight to your hands and looking up. So you're welcome to stay here, or in your own time, maybe moving your torso back to your ankles, maybe moving forward and back in your own rhythm. If it's available to you, you may like to explore this with your downward dog, so perhaps bringing your awareness to notice where you place your feet, your hands, if you like tucking your toes, and maybe lifting your torso. And if you like, bringing your weight to your hands and looking up. So I have heard that not people from who are watching me, but other people who, when they do this form, like to breathe out, maybe making a noise as they move forward. So that's always a choice. You get to breathe how you like. So maybe bring your hands, your weight to your hands, perhaps looking up, breathing out, maybe making a noise. And in your own time, finding your way back to resting, perhaps sitting back on your ankles, maybe bringing your elbows to your knees, or perhaps resting your forehead in your hands. If you like, bringing your awareness to notice the sensation of your breath. Is it fast or slow, bumpy or smooth? Just checking, what does your breath feel like? And when you're ready, maybe finding your way to standing or seated moanga. So perhaps finding your way, maybe by moving through your downward dog, perhaps stepping your feet towards your hands and finding your way to upright. So whether you're seated or standing, perhaps bringing your awareness to notice where you place your feet, possibly bringing your torso over your ankles, maybe bringing your shoulders over your seat. And if you like, bringing your head, maybe moving your head, perhaps bringing your head to balance on your shoulders. If you like, you could turn your palms out. It's always a choice. Perhaps taking a breath, finding your expression of seated or standing moanga. Then if you like, maybe exploring moving your arms. So that could be lifting and lowering, or maybe bringing your hands to touch above your head, maybe lifting and lowering your arms. If you're interested, you could coordinate your breathing with your movement. So maybe breathing in as you move in one direction and breathing out as you move in another direction. always knowing there's no right or wrong way to breathe here. You're welcome to breathe through your mouth or nose or a combination. So perhaps moving and breathing. Then if you like, maybe finding your way to folding forward, perhaps bringing your hands to your upper knees or upper legs, maybe leaning forward. If you like, experimenting with tucking your chin. Another option could be to bring your elbows to your knees and possibly tucking your chin. At any time, you're welcome to move in and out of your form. So sometimes when you come up too quickly, you can wobble. So maybe leaning forward and breathing. If you're on your chair, perhaps bring your hands to your knees. Or if you like, extending your arms towards your feet. You could have your knees together or knees apart, it's up to you. If you like, exploring folding forward and breathing. Finding your way to upright in your own time. And then if you're interested, exploring a balancing form. I'm going to offer this from seated first. So if you like, finding your expression of seated or standing moanga, maybe moving your feet. Bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. If you're seated, you may like to bring your hands to your upper legs and possibly pressing one foot into the ground and maybe lifting your other foot. You might feel sensation in your abdomen or perhaps under your hands. So if you like, pressing your foot into the ground, maybe lifting your foot. So if you're standing, you're always welcome to have the support of a chair. Perhaps bringing your feet into a way that you feel stable. Perhaps straightening one of your legs and shifting your weight into that leg. If you like, lifting your heel off the ground, maybe your foot. If it's available, perhaps bringing your foot to the sole of your foot to the side of your leg. So maybe bring the sole of your foot to the side of your leg and breathe in. At any point you can lift and lower. You might notice your breath is with you. You arrange your arms in whatever way you like. Oops, and it's quite normal to wobble. And breathe in. And finding your way to explore this on your other side at any time. So maybe switching, perhaps bringing both feet to the ground. If you like, straightening your other leg or your opposite leg and shifting your weight into that leg. If you like, lifting your heel off the ground, maybe your foot, or perhaps bringing the sole of your foot to the side of your leg and breathing. Sometimes it's helpful to find a spot on the wall that's not moving. Anytime you can lift and lower. Noticing your breath is with you, ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. So finding your way back to your upright in your own time. If you want to explore Warrior Two, maybe bringing your toes to the long edge of your mat. I'll offer the seated next. And if you like, turning one foot to face the short edge of your mat. Now, this may be your expression of Warrior Two. If you like, you could raise your arms. That's a choice. Or possibly bringing your elbow to your forward-facing knee. Maybe raising your arm and breathing. Then, if you're seated, what you may like to do is step your feet together, perhaps stepping your feet apart. If you like, turning one foot to face out from your body. Enough room. Maybe extending your arms. If it's available, perhaps bringing your elbow to your forward-facing leg. Maybe raising your arm and breathing. And you could choose where to look. Maybe look up or down. It's always a choice. And if you're standing, you may like to move to upright in your own time. And perhaps turning your opposite foot to face the other short edge of your mat. Finding your expression of Warrior Two. Maybe moving, if you like, raising your arms. Oops. Possibly bringing your elbow to your forward-facing leg. If you like, raising your arm, and perhaps choosing to look up or down. And maybe choosing where you look and breathing. Finding your way to upright in your own time. Perhaps taking a breath. Then if you like, moving to explore bending your knees. So if you're standing, you might use a chair to possibly bend your knees. Knowing how much you bend is up to you. If you're seated, what you may like to do is to perhaps lift one foot off the ground, maybe bring your hands around your knees. Or if it's available, maybe lifting both feet off the ground, perhaps bringing hands around your knees and breathing. If it's available to you, you may like to step your feet apart and possibly bending your knees, maybe moving into what we sometimes call a squat. You're welcome to stay in this form as long as you like. Perhaps being guided by sensation in your body, maybe moving to seated on your mat in your own time. Oops. And if you are seated on your mat, sometimes it's useful to have a cushion or a small rug to sit on. Sometimes that can support your spine. If you like, sitting up tall and perhaps moving to explore a twist. So if you're sitting up tall, you may like to bring your right hand to your left knee and maybe your left hand behind you. If you're interested, you could turn your chin to your shoulder and maybe experimenting with twisting. and choosing how much you want to twist. At any time, you're welcome to return to centre or your centre, perhaps sitting up tall. Maybe bringing your left hand to your opposite knee and your right hand behind you, perhaps twisting. If you like, bringing your chin to your shoulder and breathing. Possibly noticing your breath is with you. I'm not sure if the sound is picking up the noise from outside, but I hear there's some little children playing on the trampoline next door with family members. If you're worried or you're wondering what that noise is, that's what it is. Finding your way back to neutral. And from here, perhaps exploring a couple of forms on your abdomen, maybe moving into seal form. If you're on your chair, you might like to move towards the front of your chair, perhaps leaning back, maybe extending your legs. And if you like, bending your elbows, perhaps raising your arms. So how much you raise your arms is up to you. And breathe in. If you're on your mat, you may like to bring your elbows under your shoulders, perhaps bringing your hands to rest on your mat. And if you like, choosing where you want to look, maybe looking down, straight ahead, or looking up. Possibly noticing your breath is with you. It ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. If you're interested, you could experiment with pressing your hands into the ground and maybe lifting your torso, perhaps lifting and lowering. At any time, you're welcome to bring your forehead to rest on your hands. If you like, bringing your awareness to notice that your breath is with you. Maybe feeling the sensation of your breath against the surface beneath you. If it's of interest to you, you may like to experiment with lifting and lowering your leg. So you may want to lift a millimetre or maybe further, perhaps experimenting with lifting and lowering your leg. And if you are moving your leg, you may notice a change in sensation, perhaps a change in pressure where you make contact with the ground. Then when you're ready, perhaps moving into a resting form, perhaps finding your way to child form. If you like, maybe knees apart or together, perhaps bringing your opposite great toe on top of your great toe. If you like, resting your forehead on your hands and breathing. Perhaps extending your arms. Choice is yours. Time's moving rapidly on today. So when you're ready, maybe moving on to your back to explore moving your knees, and that will be the last form for today. So if you like, maybe exploring moving your knees. So if you're seated, one option could be to bring your knees close to your torso, maybe lifting one knee, or perhaps both. Maybe moving your knees, or perhaps with feet on the floor, maybe moving your knees. So if you're on your back, maybe bringing your feet close to your torso. If you like, moving your knees from one side of your body to the other side of your body. Maybe moving your knees in your own rhythm. Another option could be to lift your feet off the ground and maybe moving your knees forward and back, perhaps holding your knees with your hands. And if you are moving your knees, there's a possibility that you will feel sensation. You might feel the sensation of where you make contact with the ground, or possibly a change in pressure. Always knowing it's quite normal. We don't always feel sensation. It's quite normal not to feel sensation. So when you're ready, you may like to find a resting form that works for you. So I have been offering the opportunity for you to rest your feet on a chair, or if you like, maybe bringing your torso close to the wall. If you like, lying on your side, maybe pushing with your hand, perhaps bringing your legs up the wall. So legs up the wall can be like half an hour's rest. So 5 minutes legs up the wall could be like half an hour's rest. It also allows your body to move blood, lymph, body fluids back to your core. And when you move again, it kind of gives your body a flush. So if you like, finding a resting form that works for you. Maybe taking a breath. If you need a rug, perhaps putting a rug over you. And then if you like, bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. Maybe looking, perhaps moving. I'm going to offer a brief body scan exercise and then some silence and an opportunity for you to close your practice. So in your own time, maybe taking a breath. And as you breathe out, perhaps allowing your body to feel the support of the surface beneath you. If you want to follow my body scan exercise, you're welcome to take your mind there, your hand there, or maybe moving. You're always allowed to move. So if you like, bring your awareness to notice sensation at your eyebrow center. I didn't mention you can tune my voice out. So maybe bringing your awareness to sensation at your eyebrow center. Sensation in your neck. Sensation in the whole of your right arm. sensation in your neck, sensation in the whole of your left arm, sensation in your neck, aroha, sensation at your heart center, sensation in your abdomen, sensation in the whole of your right leg, all of your right leg, sensation in your abdomen, sensation in the whole of your left leg, sensation in your abdomen, sensation in the whole of the right side of your body, sensation in the whole of your right side, sensation in the whole of your left side of your body, the whole of your left side, sensation in your abdomen, sensation in the whole of your back, all of your back, sensation in the whole of your front torso, all of your front torso, sensation at your heart center, aroha, sensation in your neck, sensation at the back of your head, sensation in the whole of your head, all of your head, sensation at your eyebrow center, sensation in the whole of your body, sensation in your entire body, the whole of your body, all together. I'll offer some silence, and then I'll ring the chime for an opportunity for you to close your practice. So do know there's no hurry to move. When you do want to move, maybe wriggling your fingers and toes. If you're on your mat, maybe resting on your side for a short time. And if you like, perhaps taking a moment to acknowledge your practice. Maybe acknowledging your intention. Perhaps it was to nurture yourself, maybe connect with yourself, or something else. So if you like, taking a moment to acknowledge your practice. Just had a horrible thought that that's not recording. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. See you tomorrow. Ka kite anō.